Hi guys, I'm going to help you out with lesson 5's homework. And let's go ahead and get started. It says on number 1, it says find the equivalent fraction using multiplication or division. Shade the area model to show its equivalency. Record as a decimal. Okay, so here we know if we multiply the bottom 10 by 10, we'll get 100. So we do the same to the top like we're supposed to. 4 times 10 will give us 40. Now we can show it with the area model where if I shade in 4/10 here, and over here I shade in, well, each row is 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, that it takes up the same area, so we know that 4/10 is equivalent to 40 hundredths. Here we kind of do the opposite, where if we're starting off with hundredths on part B, if we divide the top and the bottom, or the numerator and denominator by 10, we'll get 6/10, and I can show you here when I fill in 60, so 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and if I do the same amount here, it'll equal 6/10 because they are equivalent fractions. So they take up the same amount of space. It's just split into smaller pieces on the first one. Okay, on number 2 it says complete the number sentences. Shade the equivalent amount on the area model, drawing horizontal lines to make hundredths. So this time we're going to draw the horizontal lines. So I'm starting off with 36 hundredths, which is the same thing as if I colored in 3/10 and 6 hundredths. If it'll let me write it here. 3/10, 6 hundredths, which as a decimal is 0.36. And as a fraction is 36 over 100. Now when I go to shade it in, I'm going to shade in 3 long rows to get my 3/10. 2, 3, and then if I split it 10 in 10 equal parts horizontally, that'll split it into hundredths, and I can just shade in 6 of the next one. Now this is kind of hard on here, so they're not going to be perfect, but just bear with me. Yeah, not perfect. But more or less 10 equal parts this way. So if I shade in 6 more hundredths right here, that'll show 36 hundredths altogether. Okay, on part B we have to do 82 hundredths, which will be the same thing as 8/10, and 2 hundredths, which as a decimal would be 0.82, and as a fraction it would be 82 over 100, or 82 hundredths. So I'd shade in 8/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if I wanted to do the 2 hundredths, I'm going to have to split it into hundredths. So I'm going to do 10 horizontally. I normally split it in half and then split each half into fifths. Just makes it easier for me. Then I'm going to color in 2 more hundredths. So 1, 2. Okay, on number 3, it says circle hundredths to compose as many tenths as you can, complete the number sentences, and represent each with a number bond as shown. So down here below, I'm going to group together 10 hundredths, because that will make 1/10. So here, that looks like 10, so I'm going to box that in. That's the same as a tenth. And it looks like there's 4 hundredths left over. So really, if there's 10 and 4, that's 14 hundredths, which is the same as 1/10 and 4 hundredths. And in decimal form, it would be 0.14, which is the same as 1/10 and 4 hundredths, just like we found there. So let's do another one. Okay, on B, it looks like I have 2 groups of 10 hundredths, so I'm going to box those in. Here's one group, here's another group, and then there's 4 extra that are out here by themselves. So that's 24 hundredths, 2 tenths, 2 groups of tenths, and 4 hundredths, which would be the same as 0.24 and 2 tenths and 4 hundredths. Okay, on number 4, it says use both tenths and hundredths place value disc to represent each number. Write the equivalent number in decimal, fraction, and unit form. So we have 4 hundredths, which is the same as 0.04, because remember it's not 0.4 because it's not 4/10, it's 4 hundredths. And if I were going to show place value discs, I'm going to put 0.01 4 times. On part B, I have 1300, so it would be the same as 0.13, which is the same as 1/10 and 300ths. And when I use the place value discs, I'm going to put 1/10 place value disc. And then not 300th value discs. Okie dokie. On part C, that just tells us 0.41, which is the same thing as 4100ths or 4/10ths and 100th. Well, it only gives a spot for hundredths, so I'm going to put 4100ths. And then instead of writing out 4100ths place value disc, that would take forever, we're going to do 4/10ths and 100th. Okay, on the next one, it looks like we have 90 hundredths or 9/10ths, which is the same thing. So I'm going to put it as 9/10 or 90/100, same thing. So it's 9/10, so I'm going to draw 9/10 place value discs here. Six, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to label them all. Okay. Part E, they just have 6/10ths and 300ths, which we know would be the same as 0.63 or 63/100, which would be 6/10 place value discs and 300th place value discs. And here are the 300ths. Okay, and our last one says 90 hundredths, which we know is the same thing as 9/10ths, but I'm still going to write it as 0.90. And I could put it as 90 hundredths or 9/10ths. And instead of drawing out 90 hundredths discs, that would take way too long, I'm just going to do the 9/10 discs. Alright, if you have any questions, let me know.